All right. Some Portland grocery stores stop bottle and can returns is the video that pops up.
Many homeless people rely on returning empty bottles and cans as a form of income. It's known as canning. But as of last week, some stores on Portland.
There were two people in my town who did this, and they were famous. There were two brothers, and they had some sort of cognitive issue where they worked at the Piggly Wiggly, but they couldn't work full time, and they would walk around with a shopping cart filled with cans like this, and it's kind of mean, but everyone nicknamed them Tin and Can. There's Tin and Can with their thing of cans, but they were really friendly, and they basically became famous in the community. So people would leave their cans out for these guys to come pick up, so that they could turn them in and make a living with by recycling, essentially doing a service for the community. So shout out to whatever their real names are. Shout out to Tin and Can.
Portland's Central East Side have stopped accepting the cans because of safety concerns, even though state law says they have to take them. Blair Best has our story.
It's almost like a drill.
I make more money an hour than most people do in pretty good jobs.
One Larry Smith has down to a science.
Well, I go out and get the cans at night. Usually about 4 or 5 hours it took us to get these right here.
He's a military vet and lives in transitional housing. Canning, for him, is a full-time job.
Approximately $300.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the type of people who do this, right? And it's bigger than you think. Actually, in college, I would keep all the beer cans that we drank and turn them in for money. But it's, former vets who, there's a lot of overlap between former vets with PTSD and homeless and homelessness, the homeless population, because in this country, we send people to go fight and die in wars for oil overseas. Then we don't take care of them when they come back, Oh, hey, Noah's with us. What's up, Noah?
Hey, brother. I had to add myself to the stream first, so hello.
For sure. How's it going? Thanks for joining us.
Of course. I'm happy I got out of work early today, so I'm able to.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sorry I started the stream without you. I got sidetracked.
Oh, story of my life, brother. Story of my life.
True. It's a problem for all of us. Somebody recommended this video about Portland grocery stores shutting down the can return. So that's what we're reacting to now. If you want to just react to this with me.
Yeah, of course.
Sweet.
What do you use that $300 on?
First, I start every day at $110 in the hole because that's how much my hotel bill is. My girlfriend has cancer right now, so I'm working with that as well. We use it for food. We use it for cigarettes because we smoke. We have habits too, just like everybody else. And we use it for gas, my car, my truck.
For many like Larry, the People's Depot under the Morrison Bridge is the only
I think it's interesting how impoverished people or working class people are just so much more honest than capitalists. Like, I was watching Liver King videos today, and it was just so crazy how easily that guy could lie about being on steroids. Just, no, I'm not on steroids. I'm living by this fitness plan. And if you buy my fitness plan, you can live like me too. All the while just pumping himself full of steroids. He has no problem bold-faced lying. But then you get someone like this. He's like, yeah, I smoke. I got habits just like everyone else. This is how I pay for it. They're honest about the struggles in their life. But I mean, this is the most typical situation for like a homeless vet in the U.S. His girlfriend's got a long-term health issue, cancer, can't pay for healthcare, can't pay for housing. So he's in transitional housing. He said he was paying for a hotel there. So just exorbitant costs of basic necessities of life, like healthcare and housing, force him into a position where all he can do is sell cans to survive. And this is someone who served our country overseas, or served oil oligarchs, but either way.
But he thought he was serving the country.
Right. He thought he was doing a good thing, and got screwed over by the government who sent him over there when he came back. And then now they're shutting down his one source of income, which is, doing a service for the community and recycling. So
it's messed up, man. This kind of stuff always drives me crazy because we have real problems in our country that they could be focusing on rather than this. You know what I mean? Like there's like real crime happening. There's all kinds of stuff that they could be working on. But this is what they're doing, shutting this down. It's horrible.
Exactly. It got me. I was freaking out because I found these people on TikTok and we connected. They were called Cobb on Wood. And they basically built these little houses and sort of like little utopian socialist communities for homeless people. So they build them houses, and then there was some kind of material like called cob that they were using to build these houses, but they created like little communities because they would have, a handful of people living together, and they would cook dinners and, sing songs and gather around the campfire for entertainment. And the freaking city and this housing company, or maybe is the transportation company, I can't remember. It's called Caltrans in California. Went to the city and shut these people down. So the police showed up looking like literal pigs with guns and forced these homeless people and these volunteers building the housing off this land. Not because they eventually had plans to use that land for something, I guess, but the land was not being used, right? They were taking this land that nobody was using and housing homeless people. So what do the police and the government spend their time doing, and the richest corporations in that area? They send the police to force these people out of these homes, and create artificial scarcity for housing and profits for landlords.
So speaking of TikTok, my wife recently turned me on to a TikTok video where it's like a guy just walking down the street, like talking in a Rancid song. Basically, it's like every Rancid song is these words, and he's kind of like singing it. He's like I'm taking a left on San Jose Boulevard, like that. But it reminds me. So I've had Rancid on the brain. But they were one of the best bands of the 90s. I don't care what anyone says. But they had this song that I used to love called Vigilante's Sidekick. And that's basically the story of the song is Wolverine in the thing gets real pissed off that the cops shut down a building where people were sleeping and goes and kills a bunch of cops. It's a good song.
I'll have to check that out. That's definitely fitting for this story and the Cobb on Wood
Rancid
story.
were straight up tankies. Did you know that? They were.
That's cool.
They do a lot of, I don't know if they still do, but they used to do a lot of free shows if you had a union card, which was pretty cool.
Huh. That's awesome. When we start our rock band, that's what we can do.
Reliable place to return bottles as of late, since nearby stores in Portland's Central East Side district are either limiting bottle return services or no longer accepting them.
I think they discriminate against people. Like Safeway and Fred Meyer's, they shut down totally. They can only give you $2.40. I used to take all my cans to Safeway.
I don't like dealing with the store. It's always hit and miss.
Market of Choice here off Southeast Belmont is one of the places no longer accepting returnables. Now, those working inside wouldn't go on camera, but tell us that homeless people returning bottles have assaulted their staff, and they've had to call police numerous times.
A lot of these folks out here, they don't know how to react with words. They only know one way to react, and that is by violence.
Refusing to accept returnables goes against Oregon law. According to the Oregon.
And when you view everything through the lens of individualism, I mean, I guess those employees are in a tough spot, but when you view everything through the lens of individualism, it's like, oh, what do we do? Some homeless people are just violent. Like, oh, how about give them housing, give them health care, don't send them to fight for oil in Iraq and then give them no resources when they come back. Like, these are systemic issues that are putting people in this situation, but it gets isolated as just an individual problem. Some of these people are violent.
Well, it's the nature of class interests, right? The owners of that store aren't going to deal with people assaulting their staff, period, right? And they shouldn't have to. The staff shouldn't have to deal with being assaulted by people who might have emotional issues or whatever. But the answer isn't an absolute just get rid of it. We're not making money off it anyway, so screw it, right? The answer is to set something up where you have multiple departments and an apparatus in effect that can take care of problems like that. You know, at the grocery store by my house, there are cops doing security the entire time it's open. They could easily be right there when people are accepting bottles and cans, just in case someone gets out of hand. You know, it's gross when, and very anti-human. It's a very good example of the profits coming before humanity in our society. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have private businesses who are here, you know, to collect these cans, and they're just looking out for themselves, their own profit. And, you know, there's no public apparatus that's set up to collect these cans or have the police, you know, facilitate it in a safe way. The police, like you said, are busy making sure nobody steals from the grocery store, busy enforcing the profit motive or the surplus value of the capitalists.
Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission, businesses could face daily fines up to $500. Those at Market of Choice are aware of the penalties and are trying to find a way to both comply and keep their staff safe.
I don't understand what the safety concerns are. Like we've been under here for close to 3 years, so we've never had the cops come here. We've never had any like major fights break out.
For those at People's Depot, they'll continue to provide the lifeline many homeless people rely on, one can at a time.
Everyone is very respectful, if you can't tell. Everyone tends to respect what we do, and we're become a pillar in the community.
In Central East Side, Blair Best, KGW News.
I feel like this stuff becomes so dystopian when you think about the fact that there are more empty houses than there are homeless people in this country. There are enough empty houses to put every single one of those people in a house.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't do it because why? Because landlords need to make rent. Landlords need to make profit. So if we walked up to those empty houses and tried to put homeless people in them, eventually the police would come and evict you, which goes back to what we were saying about everything that we have that's public, that's part of our government, is just used to enforce the interests of capital. So then you have people who are forced to sell cans, and a story like that shouldn't even exist, right? There shouldn't even be people who have to sell cans to survive, but there are, and even that tiny little way of making money, they're trying to take away.
It's especially in our era of consolidated finance capital, man. Like, the real estate is an investment. It's a bundled investment, no matter who they are. It always goes up to finance, collecting those debts, and selling it's a long thing, but it ties into how people are being reproletarianized in our age, and the fact that nobody can get housing. Like, even I own a house, but the bank owns the house. It's there. I don't want to get into a big long thing, but there are like 12 empty houses in my neighborhood that are just empty because real estate companies own them, and they keep them empty until it's profitable not to.
Yeah, I think Carlos and I have told the story. A big luxury real estate company came in and bought up a trailer park and just like jacked up the cost of rent in absurd degree to force all these people off or off the trailer park, so then they could rebuild luxury housing or whatever. And we went and door knocked on this area, and we were trying to organize against it, but it was just terrible. And you could see like most of the people didn't have the ability to advocate for themselves. They were busy working full time just to afford that rent that they had at the trailer park, let alone protesting the city and trying to get them to prevent this from happening. And then I had an Uber driver like a year or two after that happened, and he told me that he ended up getting forced off the trailer park that he had grown up in like his whole life. It's terrible.
We seem to be in this era where people don't fight back against things like that because we no longer know how to fight back.
True.
We used to. The Communist Party organized on evictions and unemployment councils, and we were organized, and people would get kicked out. There'd be a whole crew there in the morning, later that day, whatever, to put them right back in their apartment, their house, whatever it was. And in our era, that what people see as the left or activism or whatever has become just a sort of culture of protest and scolding people. And so people don't understand that there is a way to fight back, and it's got to be together, you know? So getting out there and doing what Eddie was just talking about, knocking on doors, explaining that we can fight is super, super important right now, especially as more and more people lose their homes, you know?
Absolutely, yeah, because that's only happening more and more with the financialization process, like you said, and the consolidation of finance capital in our country. And it just goes like there's this right-wing talking point that is becoming less popular, thanks to outlets like Midwestern Marx. But they put out this idea that, you know, socialists are weak, socialists are wimpy, socialists just want the government to come in and be a nanny state or whatever. Like, it is weak and wimpy to not fight back against the people who are screwing us. We are getting screwed, exploited, and robbed every day by a handful of oligarchs who don't work, who sit on their pampered butts and send our children to go fight and die in wars for their expansion, their accumulation, right? To not fight back against that, to look at the system today and not be a socialist is to be subservient to the ruling class, is to just, you know, lay down and take it and say, I have no self-respect or respect for my community and family, and I'm going to let these people continue to rob me.
That's one of the ways I flip people that I work with, you know? Like, what are you? Are you a man or what? You know, are you going to stand up to these people just shoving you over and over again and taking shit from you, taking food out of your kids' mouths? Fuck that. You know, I'm sorry to swear, but fuck that. We can fight back. I don't see why the fuck not. I'm sorry, I'm swearing a lot.
No, it's good. It's good to get. I let the F-bombs fly when I get real fired up, usually talking about something like that.
Well, it's because it drives me crazy that they and the media does this really well from the sort of angle of trying to paint this weakness in a positive light too, which I find kind of bizarre. That, you know, like, it's good to just live off of others and blah, blah, blah. But who lives off of others is the ruling class, right? This is what communists have said are in the entire existence of communism.
Right. They try and say that that's, you know, the people taking a few dollars in food stamps, or the people on welfare who are the ones, you know, leeching. Like, no, it's the people, most of those people work. The vast majority of them work. The people leeching are the bankers, the shareholders taking absurd sums of wealth, right? There's a total amount of wealth. There's a total amount of wealth that's created by human labor. And the percentage or the fraction of that wealth taken by these people who don't work is insane. They are the leeches. They are the exploiters. They're the lazy, pampered ones, not people who have to get food stamps to feed their children, not single moms.
Yeah, as capitalism centralized, or as capital centralizes, excuse me, and the rate of profit falls even more, the rate of exploitation increases alongside it. Financialization is sort of their solution to be able to continue making profits off of that, right? But all of it amounts to us being exploited so much more right now than we were even 30 years ago. And that's, you know, what creates things like us. The fight back is happening. I just, it's beginning to happen, I guess, is a